Good morning, students. Welcome back to my online coaching class. Today, I will present the second chapter of class 9. The name of the chapter is Matter Around Us Pure? I have discussed about the matter. Matter is nothing but some substance or material which have mass and which occupy some space. In the previous class, I have discussed the classification of matter according to the physical state. According to the physical state, it is three types: solid, liquid, and gas. And in this chapter, I will discuss the classification of matter in the basis of purity. That means in the basis of chemical composition or chemical substance present in matter. So according to the purity, the matter is classified in two types. One is pure substance and the other one is mixture or impure substance. Pure substance means the substance which have only one type of particle present, and in mixture, that means more than one type of particle is present. That means in pure substance there is a fixed composition, but in mixture there is no fixed composition. Again, pure substance can be classified in two types. One is elements and the other one is compounds. First, I will take one example, that hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, carbon, etc. are examples of elements. In elements, the constituent present cannot be separated or cannot be broken further because they contain one type of particle, that is called element, and the simplest form or simplest part of element is called atom. So in hydrogen element only hydrogen atom is present, in oxygen element only oxygen atom is present. So you cannot separate hydrogen atoms because only one atomic species, one type of atomic species is present. So these are the examples of elements. Now compounds. In compounds, when two or more atom combine chemically, it is forming molecule, and this molecule when placed in a some way or in a large way, it is called compounds. That means when a large number of molecule combine or put in the same place, it is called compound. Suppose example, if you take some water, it is a compound, and if you divide the particle of water, it will form or you will get a large number of water molecules. But what are the difference with elements? This water molecule can be divided or can be broken into elemental form or atomic form, because in water molecule it is H2O, the formula. That means two hydrogen atom and one oxygen atom combine with each other to form water molecule. So this hydrogen atom and oxygen atom can be separated, that means can be broken. So elements, the constituent of the elements cannot be broken, but the elements of or constituent of compounds can be broken. That means the simplest form of elements or simplest part of element is atom. From the picture you can see that one type of particle, that is atomic particle, combine to form an elements, and the smallest part of compound is molecule. This is the picture where you can see that different H2O molecule are present in a place which form water compound. So what are the basic difference? Now the elements, the constituent of elements cannot be broken, but the constituent of compound can be broken. The smallest part of element is atom and the smallest part of compound is molecule. Now I will discuss about the impure substance or mixture. In impure substance or mixture, I have told earlier that there is more than one type of particle is present. That means there is no fixed composition. It may be two types of particle, it may be three types of particle, or more than three particles may be present. And this impure substance can be divided into two types. One is homogeneous particle or homogeneous mixture, and another one is heterogeneous mixture. If more than one type of particle are uniformly distributed throughout the mixture, then it is called homogeneous mixture. And if the particles are not uniformly distributed throughout the mixture, it is called heterogeneous mixture. What are the examples? If you put some sugar in water, it will form a homogeneous mixture because the sugar molecule will be dissolved easily and it will go to the core of the water molecule, and you cannot easily see the sugar molecule or salt molecule in the water solution in the open eyes because it is uniformly distributed. But if you put some sand in water, you can easily see the sand particle in water because they are not uniformly distributed. So these are the basic difference between homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixture. You can see it from the picture also that two types of particles are uniformly distributed in homogeneous mixture, and two different types of particles are not homogeneously or uniformly distributed in heterogeneous mixture. One type of particle is present at the upside and one type of particle is present at the downside. Now I will discuss about the difference between mixture and compounds. What are the difference between mixture and compounds? The first difference is elements or compounds just mixed together to form a mixture and no new compound is formed, and in compounds elements react to form new compound. So what are the difference? The in mixture different types of particles are just mixed in the physical way. There is no chemical bonding, but in compounds the atoms are chemically bonded to form a molecule in a compound. So this is the basic difference. And second difference is a mixture has a variable composition, but in compounds the composition of each new substance is always fixed. In mixture there may be two types of particle, there may be three types of particle, the amount can be variable, but in compounds the molecule combines with a fixed composition. That means if you take water molecule, then two hydrogen and one oxygen is present in every water molecule. You cannot see that in two hydrogen or two oxygen or two hydrogen or three oxygen is combined. In every molecule you will see that two hydrogen is combined with one oxygen molecule. That means the composition is fixed. And the third difference is a mixture shows the properties of constituent substance, but in compounds the new substance has totally different properties. In mixture, if you separate the particles, you will see the properties of the particles are same, but in compounds, if you take a molecule and if you separate the atoms of the molecules, that means if you take water molecule and if you separate hydrogen and oxygen, you will see that the properties of hydrogen and oxygen are different from water molecule. And the fourth difference is the constituent can be separated fairly easily by physical methods, but in compounds the constituent cannot be separated by physical methods. It can be separated only by chemical or electrochemical reactions, because in mixture the particles are just mixed physically, they can be easily separated, but in compounds the atoms are chemically bonded with each other. So if you want to separate it, you have to use chemical methods or electrochemical methods. In physical methods you cannot separate it. These are the difference between mixtures and compounds. Now I have already discussed about the homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixture. In homogeneous mixture, the particles are uniformly distributed and it is called true solution. Why it is called true solution? Because the particles are totally dissolved in the medium. You cannot see in open eyes the particles in the solution. So it is called true solution. And the heterogeneous mixture, it is two types. One is colloidal solution and the other one is suspension. Colloidal solution means the particles are dispersed in a medium. They are not totally dissolved, but they are dispersed uniformly in a medium. That is called colloidal solution. And in suspension, the particles are not dispersed uniformly. They are distributed randomly. That's why it is called suspension. What are the basic difference between these three type of solution? First, I will give the example. The example of true solution is sugar solution in water. If you put some sugar in water, it will be uniformly distributed and it will be dissolved. You cannot see the sugar particle in water separately. That's why it is a true solution. Colloidal solution example is milk, mud water. In milk, it is a mixture of different compounds, water, fat, protein, etc. In these compounds are homogeneously distributed or uniformly distributed. And the example of suspension is sand in water. Sand in water when mixed, it is randomly distributed, so it is called suspension. Now in every case we have seen that there are two types of part. One is some particle part and another one is some medium part. For true solution, it is called solute and solvent. The particle are called solute and the medium is called solvent. So solute are dissolved in solvent. For colloidal solution, it is called dispersed phase and dispersing medium. So dispersed phase, that means particles are called dispersed phase. These are dispersed in the medium, which is called dispersing medium. And in suspension, the particles are called suspended particle and these particles are distributed randomly in a medium which is called suspended medium. Now what are the basic difference between these three? Now particle size. For true solution, the particle size is less than 1 nanometer. That means 10 to the power minus 9 meter. It is very small size. That's why they are totally dissolved in the medium. For colloidal solution, the particle size is in between 1 to 1000 nanometer. That means 10 to the minus 9 meter to 10 to the minus 6 meter. In between this, the particle size is present. And in suspension, the particle size is more than 1000 nanometer. That means more than 10 to the minus 6 meter. These are the basic difference between these three. And another difference is settlement of particle. If you want to settle the particle from the medium, you cannot settle the particle of true solution because they are totally dissolved. So the particles do not settle down in a true solution, but in colloidal solution the particle can be settled down, but you cannot settle down in the normal way. It can be settled down by the centrifugation process only. But in suspension, if you keep it for a long time, the particle will be settled down easily due to gravitational force. The next point is separation. If you want to separate the particles from the medium, normal filtration process is used to separate the suspended particle from suspended medium in case of suspension. But for true solution and colloidal solution, you cannot separate the particles from the medium because the filter paper used and the pores of the filter paper are much higher than the particle size of true solution and colloidal solution. So the particles present in true solution and colloidal solution, they can easily pass through the pore of the filter paper. That's why they cannot be filtered or they cannot be separated through normal filtration process. The last point is light scattering. The true solution, the particles are so small, so they cannot scatter light when some light is passed through the solution. But for colloidal solution and small size suspended solution, if you pass some light, the light will be scattered by the particle present in colloidal solution and suspension. This phenomena is called Tyndall effect. I will discuss it later. Now I will discuss about the solution. How the concentration of a solution can be calculated. The concentration of a solution can be calculated in three ways. First one is mass by mass percentage. If you want to calculate the concentration of solution by mass percentage, then you have to calculate the mass of solute and you have to divide the mass of solute by mass of solution and you have to multiply it with 100. You will get mass by mass percentage of a solution. Second one is mass by volume percentage of a solution. You have to calculate the mass of solute and you have to divide it by the volume of solution and you have to multiply it by 100 and you will get mass by volume percentage of a solution. And third one is volume by volume percentage of a solution. You have to divide the volume of solute by the volume of solution and you have to multiply it by 100 and you will get volume by volume percentage of a solution. These three formula can be used for different mathematical problem. Now I will discuss about the Tyndall effect. I have told earlier that the colloidal solution and for small size suspended solution the particles scatter the beam of light, which is called Tyndall effect. The definition of Tyndall effect is the phenomenon by which the particle in a colloid or in a very fine suspension scatter the beam of light that are directed at them is called Tyndall effect. So if light is directed towards the particle of colloidal solution or very fine suspended solution, then the light is scattered in haphazard way. That is called Tyndall effect. You can see it from the picture that some light source is used by using a torch and the light is passed through a colloidal solution and the light is dispersed or scattered. This is the Tyndall effect. And the one natural phenomena of Tyndall effect is, you can see from the picture that if you pass some sunlight through a tiny hole, you will get the ray, direction of ray in the open eyes. How it is possible? Now the dart particle present in the air scatter the light or sunlight which can be easily shown or which can be easily seen by our naked eyes. This is the natural example of Tyndall effect. Now I will discuss about some common example of colloids. These are the common examples of colloids. In colloids, I have already told that there are two parts. One is dispersed phase and another one is dispersing medium. I will discuss according to the dispersing medium. First, dispersing medium, I have taken gas. If liquid dispersed phase is present in a gas medium, then it is called aerosol, and the example is fog, clouds, etc. And if solid phase is present in gas medium, it is also called aerosol, and the example is smoke, automobile exhaust. Now if the dispersing medium is taken as liquid, then gas can be dispersed in liquid, which is called foam. The example is shaving cream. And if liquid is dispersed in liquid medium, that is called emulsion. It is very much important for exam purpose that liquid dispersed phase when dispersed in liquid medium, that is called emulsion, and the example is milk, face cream, etc. And when solid phase is dispersed in liquid medium, it is called sol. Example is mud, milk of magnesia, etc. And the another one is solid also can be used as dispersing medium. So if gas particle or gas molecule acts as a dispersed phase, if it is present in solid medium, it is called also foam. And the example is foam, rubber, sponge, etc. And if liquid acts as dispersed phase and if it is present in solid medium, it is called gel. Example is jelly, cheese, butter, etc. And solid dispersed phase also dispersed in solid medium, that is called solid salt. The example is colored gemstone, milk glass, etc. So these are the common examples of colloids. Now I will discuss about the last part, that is separating the components of a mixture. I have told earlier that mixture means more than one type of particle or components is present. So how will you separate these components from a mixture? Now, there are different ways of separation. These are the basic separation method, that here in the picture we have seen that violet ball and green ball are mixed. That means it is a mixture. When it is filtered, you will get some residue as violet ball and you will get some filtrate at green ball. In this way, the green ball and violet ball can be separated, and this is the normal filtration process. Like this ways, there are different methods to separate the components of a mixture. First method is filtration, another one is evaporation, third one is centrifugation, then extraction by separating funnel, sublimation, chromatography, normal distillation, fractional distillation, crystallization. These are the methods of separating components. I will discuss one by one. First one, normal filtration process. This method is used to separate heterogeneous mixture. That means the mixture of components which are not uniformly distributed, they are randomly distributed and they are not mixed homogeneously. Like sand water, if you take sand water and if you put on a funnel with a filter paper, you will get the filtrate as a liquid part and the solid part will be remain as the residue on the filter paper. In this way you can separate it. Second method is evaporation. This process is used for the separating volatile solvent from a non-volatile solute. If you take some ink, in ink there are some solute particle which is non-volatile and some volatile solvent is present. It is present in china dish in the picture you have seen, and when a glass beaker of water is heated, the water vapor will hit the ink and the volatile solvent present in ink will be removed or evaporated and the solute particle will remain at the dish. In this way we can separate it. Third method is centrifugation. Separation of colloidal solution is used. Centrifugation process is used for the separation of colloidal solution. How it is used? Now there is a centrifugation machine where some test tube is used. In test tube the colloidal solution is kept. Here milk is kept in the test tube and this machine rapidly rotated through a motor, and when it is rotated due to centrifugal force, the higher dense particle of the colloidal solution becomes isolated or separated. The cream part, that is more dense part, will be separated from the milk, and this is the centrifugation process to separate colloidal solution. And the next one is extraction by separating funnel. When two immiscible liquids are mixed, when two immiscible liquids, that means they are not mixed with each other, like oil and water are mixed, this two liquid mixture can be separated using separating funnel. This is the picture of separating funnel. Here two mixture, oil and water, are taken. They form two different layers. The higher dense liquid will remain at the lower side and the lower dense liquid will remain at the upper side. And by the stopcock, we can collect the lower part easily, and in this way we can separate the two different layers. Next one is sublimation. If some sublimate volatile compound is mixed with non-sublimate compound, we can easily separate it by the sublimation process. This is the process. Here in a dish, some sublimate volatile compound like camphor is mixed with salt, and if it is covered with a funnel with a cotton plug at the upper end of the funnel, then if you heat it, the sublimate compound easily get in the vapor state and it will be collected at the upper side of the funnel and the sand will remain at the dish. In this way we can separate it. Next one is chromatography. Chromato means color. The separation process according to color. Here the separation process is carried out on the basis of solubility. If different mixture of solutes are present in a same solvent, so they can be separated by chromatography technique. This is the process. Here in a filter paper, cutting filter paper, some ink is dropped, and ink is the mixture of different solute particle in a same solvent. Now this filter paper is dipped on water present in a beaker, and this water will be absorbed by the filter paper from lower side to the upper side, and in this way the solubility of water with the different solute particle present in ink will be different, and the particle which is more soluble will come at the upper side of the filter paper. In this way we can see that three different types of solute particle is separated. One is yellow color, one is red color, and one is black color. They are separated according to their solubility. The more soluble part will remain at the upside and the lower soluble part with water remain at the lower side. And in this way chromatography technique is used to separate the mixture of solute present in same solvent. Now the separation process of miscible liquids. If two miscible liquids present in a mixture, we cannot separate it by separating funnel. We can use distillation process. If the boiling point difference between the two liquid mixture is greater than 25 Kelvin, then we can easily use normal distillation process. Here the liquid mixture is taken in a round bottom flask and it is heated and it is connected with a condenser. So lower boiling liquid will be evaporated first and it will come through the condenser and will be collected in a beaker. In this way we can separate it. But when the liquid mixtures have lower difference in boiling point, that means less than 25 Kelvin, we cannot use normal distillation process, because if you heat the solution or mixture, then both the liquids will come through the condenser and be collected in the beaker, so we cannot separate it. For this purpose we can use fractional distillation process. Here on the round bottom flask, at the upper side of the round bottom flask, a fractionating column is used. Here the lower boiling liquids will boil and it will goes through the column, and this column slow down the process of evaporation and it will pass the lower boiling liquids first and higher boiling liquid at the last. And in this way we can easily separate the liquid mixtures. The fractional distillation process is also used to separate the different components of air. We know that air is the mixture of different gaseous molecules like nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide and many more gases. So this air can be liquefied by cooling process, and this can be separated by fractionating column, by passing it through fractionating column by fractional distillation process. The last method of separation process is crystallization. When some crystalline compound is dissolved in a solvent, we can separate it by heating the solution first, and if you put it for some time, it will be crystallized, and the crystal can be separated by the normal filtration process. One more separation process is present, that is magnetic separation process. If some magnetic compound is present with some non-magnetic compound, we can easily separate it using a magnet. So these are the separation process and all about this chapter. And in the next class I will discuss about the chapter 3, that is atoms and molecules. Thank you all of you. See you soon.